Hey everyone, it's Miranda here from the Swirlydoos Education Design Team, and I've got a start to finish video to share with y'all today on how I created my assemblage clock from the Technique kit this month. This kit was totally handpicked by me. Chrissy gave me the honor of picking a kit out, so of course I had to get all this yummy stuff to go with it, some of my favorite items to do it. And I wanted to do something a little bit different with this one. I've done quite a few of these, so I guess I'm kind of over just making it into a regular clock. So I wanted to just play around and do a couple of different techniques and stuff and get really mixed media with it and just experiment. So that's what I did, and I really like how it came out. I've been playing with colors lately, so the scheme for this one was pink, of course. I love my pink, but I wanted to add a green in there. I don't typically work with green, but I've been using it lately and it's totally growing on me. So the scheme for this one is kind of black, white, brown, green, and pink. And then in the main kit this month we had the Lyric paper collection along with the Hope Chest paper collection, so those were perfect to just match up with this whole scheme that I was going with. So what I have been doing here for the last minute is just prepping all of my metal pieces, all of the gears, and then the Finnabar Prima clock piece that we had in the kit. And I've gessoed them all, and then I've also used some shimmer sprays in Olive Branch to color it, and then also in 4-leaf clover to color it. And then I'm going in with that Silk's pink paint that we had in our kit too this month. And I'm just kind of dabbing them randomly and getting the colors on there how I like them. I'm just spraying some mud pie on there now just to kind of make it a little bit more brown. So I do this to all of my metal gears and stuff, and my whole plan was to make these look like it was the inside of a clock. I would love to have had these move still, and that was my initial idea, but when it came down to it, I just decided it was a little too much work for me, so I just decided to use acetate and adhere them on there, so when you're looking through the clock it just looks like they're in there by themselves. You know, you can't really see the acetate. So what I did is I just took some acetate from my stash and I placed it down and then traced the circle glass piece that comes in the clock. I took that out and just traced it on the acetate and then cut it. And then I did have to go in and cut it maybe like 1/4 of an inch smaller than that so it would fit further inside of the clock. I hope that makes sense. So just trace your glass piece on some acrylic or some acetate and then trim it out about 1/4 of an inch smaller than that, and then it will fit inside of your clock nice and snug. If you are wondering how to take the glass out on your clock, you just, on the inside of it, there's nuts that you just need to unscrew, and then it will just pop right out of there. So that's what I did there. I had the idea to do a cracked glass sort of effect, but it didn't end up working out and ended up cutting my hand really badly, so don't try that one, y'all. But I'm just adhering all of my gears down with some Fabri-Tac. It's a really good adhesive and it will hold just fine. Okay, so I've got it all adhered there, and I'm just playing with adhering it to the inside of my clock. And after I took that glass piece out, I put those brackets back on the inside of my clock and then tightened up the screws, and that is what's going to kind of glue my acrylic piece in there. So I'm just adhering them to the back of that. And now I'm taking the Lyric paper from the main kit this month, and I have embossed it with one of my Tim Holtz embossing folders. You can use any one you want, but if you're trying to cover a curved surface with paper, unless you know something I don't, please share it with me. I always have trouble trying to do that. So what I have found is if I just emboss the paper, it will, you know, you can manipulate it to fit those curves and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of decoupage it on there. But I wanted some numbers and stuff to show through. You know, I really wanted this to be really grungy and mixed media and, you know, have to do with clocks, obviously. So I'm pulling out some grunge board numbers that I'm just going to have randomly around my clock piece in the background. And then I'm going to kind of decoupage the paper on top of that. So I'm just gessoing those, and I'm using some StazOn black ink and just a swirly stamp from my stash, and I am just going to go around and stamp randomly on my metal. Some of the metal will show through, some of it will be covered with alcohol ink, some of it will be covered with paint, but I wanted it to be really fun and funky, so I'm just randomly doing this, and then anywhere where like the alcohol ink or paint isn't at, that little swirly stamp will show through on the bare metal. So when you're doing things like mixed media, it's all about layering, and you know, a lot of times most of it will get covered up, but anywhere you can see, you know, to the back of it, I wanted there to be some details, some stamping details. So I'm even stamping on the bells of the clock up there. And when you're doing like a curved surface, I always just don't use an acrylic block because it's harder to get it to, you know, go around a curved area. So I'm just taking it off and using my fingers to press it down. I'm going to use E6000 to adhere my grunge board letters down, my grunge board numbers down, because I'm going to be using alcohol inks and stuff, and that stuff will seep down behind it, and I need a really strong adhesive that's not going to peel off. I think if I use like hot glue or something else, with all my spraying and gunking up on there, it may have made the numbers come off. So I'm using E6000 just to be safe. And you'll want to make sure your numbers, if you do this technique, are the glue on there is completely dry before you do start adding like your alcohol inks and paints and things, because if not, it will cause it to start peeling off. Alcohol ink is like, I guess, I don't know if it's acidic or what, but it will like eat through glue. So make sure that your E6000 is really dry before you start doing that. So I'm just going all the way around my clock and adhering these down. And I also took that same swirly stamp and the same Stays On Black ink and stamped those as well, so they would blend in nicely with the metal background. So I'm using alcohol inks in lettuce, in caramel, in latte, and then also in the white, which is like the metallic mixatives. I love using alcohol inks. I have probably every color. They are just so fun and they just create amazing effects. So what I'm doing is I'm just dripping them down the metal, just randomly dripping the colors and letting them swirl all the way down. Just kind of haphazardly, no particular way. I just want it to be really funky and pretty. And this lettuce color is just a really pretty color green, so I really like that effect. And it didn't seep into the inside of the clock and get my acrylic, but I was thinking it might do that. So on second thought, if you're going to do this, I would do the alcohol inking before you put your acrylic or acetate piece in the center of it, just in case it hits it, because you definitely want your acetate to stay clear so it looks like the gears and stuff are just floating inside of there. So I ran out of the caramel one there, so I ended up grabbing some of the latte to go on there. Or actually, that might have been mushroom, y'all. It's either mushroom or caramel. Also, if you're doing like layouts and stuff, you know, a lot of people do those really artsy dots and splatters and stuff. Alcohol inks work great for that. It's really fun to do that. These clocks can be done so many different ways, y'all. They're so versatile. So I'm showing you here kind of what it looks like with all of my dripping going on there. And now I'm going to take that paper from the main kit. It's the Lyric collection. And I wanted the pieces that had like the green leaves and the roses to kind of show the most. So I'm just using Fabri-Tac to adhere them down. And you know, you can just overlap them on top of each other. Like I said, I want some of the metal to show through, so I'm not covering the entire thing with the paper. I'm just randomly selecting places too, and I'm not covering up where my numbers are. I'm going around those with the paper. Okay, so you can see there kind of what it looks like. I did line the inside with paper as well. And that's basically it for the video, you guys. I am going to go ahead and do a couple more of the embellishments here, but I basically just wanted to show you guys how I did the outside of it, because there were a lot of techniques involved there. And then from that point, you can just start embellishing it. So I'm just adding different elements on the inside of mine, and of course you'll see the finished product to see what I ended up coming up with. The little Finnebar clock, I did also put it on a piece of the Hope Jest paper and then traced around it and then cut that inner circle out, and it just lined the inside of those numbers, and I thought that looked really cool because there was some script in there. And then the gears, just placed them everywhere. I mean, these things are awesome, so I just had fun with those. This Firebird flower from Prima is probably, between them and the Odettes, which we got in last month's kit, they are the prettiest Prima flowers ever, and I thought it just really matched this whole kind of funky theme I was going for with the feathers there. So you'll see me just placing different embellishments, and you can see that you can see through into the clock, and it looks like those gears and stuff are just floating there. I did go in and add some lace from my stash back there just to give it some, you know, more definition, but by all means you can just leave the acetate and it looks really cool just like that. So acetate is very, you know, versatile. You can do a lot of really cool techniques just using acetate. And the resin pieces in the kit this month were just superb. I chose to use these smaller wings on the top of my clock up there. You can have them coming out of the clock. You can do so many different things. Okay, and that's basically it, y'all. My last tip would just to be to use a really good adhesive when adhering to metal. Fabri-Tac or E6000, you know, hot glue just doesn't hold up well. So I just encourage you to have fun, experiment, get out your inks and sprays and stuff, and just get grungy with this. And I would love to see what you guys come up with. If you have any questions at all, just leave me a comment down below. And of course, check out swirlydoos.com to grab these kits and become a subscriber. And thanks for watching, y'all. Bye!